Hey guys, have you ever wondered what to do if you're finding yourself feeling defensive in therapy? In this next video, we address just that.
Any stories shared in this podcast have had names and details changed for the confidentiality of clients. Any resemblance to someone real is coincidental. Hello everybody, thank you for joining us for another video. Today we are going to talk about why therapy can not work or get stuck if you as the client are being too defensive. There's a whole maybe other topic about if your therapist is being defensive, but today we're specifically talking about the client, right? If you're feeling really defensive in therapy, why is that a problem?
Right. So I would say, like, when a client is being defensive, I can usually tell by a couple of things. One, their body language is really going to change. I notice people get real, like, their muscles get real rigid and stiff. And I think that a lot of times when a client does become defensive, they seem like their voice becomes a little bit more intense and they just seem agitated. And I think that often happens because of some of the content that's coming up, right? They maybe don't feel like understood, or maybe people have challenged them on whatever they're saying in the past.
Yeah, I think it comes up for me most frequently whenever it gets to, I don't know, part of therapy is like helping people recognize when their behaviors are the cause of some of their problems, right? They need to change some things. And sometimes people get really attached to certain behaviors, right? And they don't feel like, maybe they don't want to give up smoking weed, but they're feeling really depressed. And so when I talk to them about it, like, I think the walls come up a little bit about, no, it's really helpful to me in these kind of ways and this and this and that. And they don't want to hear that they have to change something that's kind of become a crutch for them.
Would you guys hate it if I threw out there that being defensive in therapy is or can be a very normal part of the process?
I would say it is normal.
Okay, so you guys are in agreement. Yeah. Oh, is that what you said? Sometimes what I tell my clients, especially when I meet them the first time, is you're going to feel uncomfortable in session for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know you yet, so I don't know exactly what the validation route is going to be, so I'm going to say things that are wrong. Another video, right? But then sometimes, I like the way you worded it, Shara, part of the therapeutic process is addressing things that feel uncomfortable. And so you're gonna feel defensive. That's okay. We as therapists expect that. It becomes our job to try and navigate that skillfully so that the defensiveness can come down. Part of that is talking strategies, but if you're feeling defensive in therapy, that doesn't necessarily mean the process isn't working. It just means that it's a normal part of the process. Now, if it's a lot of defensiveness over a long period of time, then we probably need to address that. But just so you know, like, defensiveness can be a normal part of the therapeutic process too.
I pretty much expect it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. And I would also say that as a therapist, I would like to think that I get pretty good at reading people. Right? I can't always tell what somebody's feeling, but I pay a lot of attention to body language and tone and those kinds of things, and I do that all day long. So I'd like to think that I'm pretty good at reading people. But the reality is I don't always know what's going on inside of my clients. And so somebody could be feeling really defensive, and I don't know. I have no idea. And if they don't actually say that to me in session, that they're feeling defensive about that, I might not know. And that session might be completely ineffective for them, or where we're at in treatment might not even work because I don't know about the defensiveness. And so, defensiveness is a normal part in therapy, but if you're stuck, you need to stop and go, okay, am I feeling defensive? Am I saying that to my therapist? And what is it about this process that's making me feel so defensive and not able to move through it?
Have you guys had clients talk to you about that?
Yeah, and I actually really appreciate it when they do, because it opens up like a whole new path of dialogue and conversation to be had that I find is really helpful for people, because it's a good opportunity as a therapist to validate, yeah, I can see why you're feeling that way, like that's totally normal because blah 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 blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to it it gives you the opportunity to explore why is that defensiveness coming up and how to kind of take down that wall so that it doesn't, run into it again more often in therapy or in their daily life or whatever.
Right. I mean, really, this is just a defense mechanism that we have. We're trying to protect ourselves in some way when this defensiveness comes up. And that's not a problem, but it is something that we need to learn how to navigate through and around in therapy.
So being defensive is a normal part of the process. One thing you'll have to navigate is potentially the defensiveness of your therapist, but that's a whole different video. And then in a previous video, we talked about validation. Make sure that the validation piece is happening. But in the long term, one of the best things you can do if you're feeling defensive is bring it up to your therapist. And we have 3 of us, I think, that would acknowledge that bringing it up is something we'd prefer you do because it actually helps the therapeutic process, even though that can feel stressful.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to even put that broadly, like emotions are always telling us something, so if you're feeling anything strongly, like tell your therapist.
Whether it's defensiveness or something different.
Yeah, just because it's relevant to whatever you guys are talking about in therapy.
Right. Well, and like I said, I like to think I'm good at reading people, but the reality is I'm only a human and I miss a lot. And I'm sure all therapists miss a lot. And so if you think your therapist can tell how you're feeling, I don't know that that's a fair assumption to make. Maybe they can, but maybe they can't. And so sometimes you really do just have to call things like this out. If you're stuck in session or if you're feeling stuck in therapy, really think about this. Are there things that you feel like your therapist is really missing that you just need to call out in the room?
Yeah, I like that. Always good advice. Share what you're feeling with your therapist, especially if you're feeling defensive. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video.
Thanks.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We've got other videos for you to check out and more exciting things coming soon. So thank you.